A number of people are uncomfortable buying stock from what they think are ethically or morally questionable companies, and I totally understand. So today, I will try to separate reality from myth and shed some light on a few things. Now, I need to correct a mistake I made in that last video. The ETF for the whole U.S. stock market is VTI, not BTI, which is actually a good, funny way to start this video because BTI is British American Tobacco, whose stock I obviously would personally never buy. Some companies are obvious. I also wouldn't invest in stocks from companies that make alcohol or marijuana or Roundup or stuff like that. Monsanto, by the way, doesn't even exist anymore. They were bought by Bayer, which is a German company, so it's not even in the S&P 500. Bayer, by the way, is the founder of IG Farben, the company that made the gas used in concentration camps in World War II. And it's funny how people say, I would never buy Bayer stock, but yet they buy aspirin, Alka-Seltzer, Claritin eye drops, Aleve pain reliever, Midol for menstrual cramps, and one-a-day vitamins, which are all made by Bayer. Now, personally, I don't use anything by Bayer, but sometimes bad parents make good children. So should the child be punished because the parent was bad? Now, as I tried to explain in a previous video, one of the biggest misconceptions with people is when you buy stock in the stock market, your money does not go to that company. They get $0. The company doesn't even know you made the transaction. When Bob Smith buys stock and then sells it, and then you buy stock, you are buying it from Bob Smith, and the money goes to Bob Smith, not Microsoft or Apple or Tesla. Now, let's take that dollar bill in your wallet, for example. It could have been used by a criminal, a drug addict, or a child selling lemonade on the street corner. Who knows, right? But it belongs to you now, not the U.S. Treasury. Do you stay awake at night wondering if that money in your wallet was used for something bad? Probably not. Well, hopefully not. Should you? You can go crazy thinking about stuff like that. That stock that you bought was already bought and sold by who knows how many people, and the company it came from doesn't even get a penny of that. The SEC defines the secondary market as existing securities being bought and sold between investors rather than from the company. Now, I can understand when somebody says they don't even want to be symbolically associated with a company. I get that. Even though companies do not get your money when you buy their stock, if demand for that stock goes up, it can make the company look good, and sometimes that popularity can help the company borrow more money or do more business, but not always. Lots of people were buying WorldCom or Enron and Lehman Brothers and Washington Mutual. Their stocks were going through the roof, and yet those companies collapsed despite all kinds of people buying their stock. The support is more perceptual, not physical. Now, I know, but energetically, there's still a connection. I get it. I consciously don't buy stock from companies that I personally don't agree with. But index funds and ETFs are different. They aren't a company. They are a market. I might buy a chocolate-covered banana at a flea market when someone in the next booth sells rat poison or guns or even worse, Vanilla Ice records. By spending money on that chocolate banana, I am helping pay the rent for the market, which gives the guy next door a place to sell his crap. Now, sure, we could boycott the flea market and say, yay, no more rat poison or guns or Vanilla Ice records, but then also no more chocolate-covered bananas either. You're investing in an economy, not specific vendors. Let me say this again. When you invest in a market, you are investing in an economy, not specific vendors. There's a big difference between getting stock from an actual specific company and buying into an index fund or an ETF, which isn't a specific company. It's a market that contains all kinds of companies. Now, yes, some of those companies in that bucket may not be to your liking, but when you buy an ETF, you are not paying any money to a specific company. You are paying for the bucket. Let's take the bucket, for example, here. Let's say you took a bucket out into the wilderness and you filled it with natural spring water from the middle of nowhere, from nature, which is supposed to be the cleanest water you can get, other than rainwater from a glacier, which, by the way, is not pure like people think. Anyway, natural pure spring water has low levels of naturally occurring lead, arsenic, mercury, and uranium in tiny amounts because it's naturally occurring in the rocks that it flows through. It's part of nature. So, should we never drink spring water? That's like an ETF. Let's say there's a small school of 500 super smart kids and 490 of them are high achievers who are going to change the world, and 10 of them are bullies who do mean things. Should the school be boycotted and shut down because of those 10 bullies, even though it's one of the best schools in the country and many of those awesome kids are destined to change the course of the future? Almost everything that you choose or to interact with in your life has a small percentage of bad stuff mixed in. You probably say, yeah, but I don't have a choice. You're breathing air right now that has a bunch of toxic gases from cars and airplanes and household chemicals. So why aren't you wearing a gas mask? You could, but you choose not to. I know some people are rolling their eyes. You're going, oh, come on, Marcus, God, give me a break here, right? They're still uncomfortable no matter what I say. Okay, so let's just get to the point. Are there ethical ETFs? Yes, ethical ETFs do exist, but ethical depends on what you personally try to avoid. Is it weapons, fossil fuels, alcohol, animal testing, surveillance, unhealthy foods, poor labor practices, or something else? No single ETF can represent everyone's conscience. The industry calls them ethical, socially responsible, SRI, or ESG ETFs. Some examples of ESG ETFs are ESGV Vanguard. They try to exclude tobacco, alcohol, gambling, civilian firearms, conventional and controversial weapons, nuclear weapons, fossil fuels, and companies failing certain labor and human rights and environmental standards. It's probably the closest simple replacement for a broad U.S. stock. But no screening system will ever satisfy every personal objection of every person. Then there's SUSA, S-U-S-A, iShares ESG Optimized MSCI USA ETF, which tries to exclude alcohol, firearms, conventional and controversial weapons, fossil fuel extraction, gambling, nuclear power, nuclear weapons, thermal coal, and tobacco. It's more selective and currently has about like 193 holdings, so it's much less broad than the S&P 500. Then there's ETHO, Amplify ETHO Climate Leadership US ETF. It tries to exclude fossil fuels, tobacco, weapons, and gambling, and also select companies based on carbon efficiency. It's more climate focused and equally weighted. It currently holds about 286 companies. But ESGV is probably the clearest example to mention because it's inexpensive, it's diversified, and explicitly includes conventional military weapons and fossil fuel companies, not merely companies with low ESG scores, but even ESGV will contain something that somebody somewhere passionately considers evil. At some point, demanding a perfectly uncontaminated portfolio becomes nearly impossible because companies they buy from, they sell to, they finance, they insure, they host, they transport and provide technology to one another. It's totally intermingling. So it's important to note that ESG does not necessarily mean good company. Okay, so there's that. But let me play devil's advocate here for a minute and see if I can bring a dose of reality to your mind. Let's start with the touchy subject of guns and weapons and military. We all agree it's not cool to attack or hurt or kill innocent people. But if someone broke into your house with a gun and went after the kids or your wife, would you just stand there and do nothing, or would you use a gun and defend your loved ones in your home? Well, home invasion is spreading to a much bigger game now. What if 1,000 drones swarmed your neighborhood or city and started targeting every house, person, car, and moving object? There are fanatical cultures out there who live for stuff like that. If people think 911 was just a one-time thing, they might have some surprises coming. Do you seriously not want the military to not be able to defend us from drone swarms and cyber attacks where the water and the electricity grids are sabotaged in every major city? Look, you don't have to personally fund or research the development of such defense systems, but somebody has to, or this country, as we know it, may be in a lot of trouble soon. I have an old Western rifle. And an old Russian Mosin Nagant. Sure, it's fun, but I don't like killing anything. Should I not have them because of what they represent? Look, I'm a peace-loving hippie boy, but if somebody ever tries to attack Kara, you can bet I'm going to grab some kind of weapon. There's a time and a place for everything. Anyway, it looks like drones are the future of warfare because they can accurately and surgically take out a target, and the way to make them hard to stop is simply having thousands of them fill the sky. Fewer people are dying in wars lately because targeting is getting more accurate. In 2025, direct deaths from organized armed conflict worldwide was about 245,000, which is about 670 people killed every day. Now that's sad, but in comparison, do you know how many people are seriously hurt or killed every day in car accidents? Because I hope you're sitting down. Annual worldwide road deaths, 1.16 million. People injured in just U.S. traffic crashes annually, 2.5 million. That's 6,818 people every single day worldwide. Non-fatal but bad road injuries, 20 to 50 million annually. 20 to 50 million people every year. That's over 100,000 people seriously injured every day. That means 5 times more people die in traffic accidents than in wars. Now, does that mean wars are okay? No, of course not. But sometimes there is real aggression that needs to be stopped. Anyway, in the United States alone, there is 1 traffic death every 14 minutes and 1 police-reported traffic injury every 13 seconds. And the scary amount of those are from road rage and people using cars as weapons. Yes, cars are officially weapons. Half the people in this country shouldn't be allowed to have a car. So are cars bad? Should we not buy stocks from car companies? Should countries be allowed to simply take over other countries? I know the lines are blurred, but weapons are not the issue here. The issue is if they are used for aggression or defense. I was health consultant to military weapons of mass destruction first responders. These are guys that go in with hazmat suits when there's a chemical, biological, or nuclear attack. They don't kill people. They go in to help people. Despite what people think, there's a reason they call it the Defense Department. People like to say all the time there are obvious bad companies like Coca-Cola. I personally don't drink Coke, and I don't recommend people do, and I don't buy Coca-Cola stock, but some ETFs contain a little bit of Coca-Cola, which, by the way, doesn't just make Coca-Cola like people think. It also sells Dasani water, Smart Water, Topo Chico, a popular mineral water in Mexico, along with unsweetened tea and coffee and juice and dairy drinks and sports drinks and zero sugar beverages. Its profits come from a huge portfolio, including plain water. It's a total beverage company, not simply a corporation whose evil business model is to sell cancer-causing soda. You can criticize popular products or business practices, but claiming every Coca-Cola dividend represents someone getting cancer is emotional rhetoric, not a factual description of how the company earns all its money. It's a lot more than people think. Now, yes, shareholders receive dividends, but that does not mean I personally endorse every product the company sells or every choice its customers make. No matter what I say, there will always be those people who say, yeah, but. Well, as you type away furiously on your keyboard to defend what a purist you are, remember, you are literally typing your comment on a device created by underpaid workers in China and shipped across the ocean on a super freighter that burns 4 to 7 metric tons of heavy fuel oil per hour into the atmosphere. And that device is made from rare earth minerals mined from the ground in environmentally destructive ways, and you're powering it with electricity from power plants that are also not environmentally friendly. And you're going to say you don't have a choice. Well, you do. You could live off-grid and create your own electricity with solar or wind or hydro, or a thermoelectric generator that generates electricity from the temperature difference underneath your roof, or a microbial fuel cell that creates electricity from dirt. Or you can live near the ocean and you can create power from the motion of the waves or other non-destructive ways, but you're not. You're probably getting it from a coal plant in another state or nuclear or who knows what. and it's okay. I'm not judging you. Electricity is awesome. What you do with that electricity matters just as much or even more than how it was created. Before people get on their high horse, they should seriously reconsider because they don't know the whole story. They think they do based on what they read and see on the internet as if that was the all-knowing truth. It's not. There's a lot more to reality than what the internet says. Even AI is not the all-knowing truth. AI is based on human data, and it gives bad advice and misinformation all the time. I correct ChatGPT at least 4 times a day, and it says, "Oh, you're right. Thank you for correcting me." Look, you do the best you can, but it gets to a point where you start getting diminishing returns and it starts becoming a waste of energy. You can't be a purist in today's world. You can't possibly see and know everything that's going on from every angle. You only have so many days of life on this planet. The planet will be around long after humans have gone, and the stuff that you're getting all worked up about won't matter 1,000 years from now. Now, does that mean we shouldn't care? No, of course not. But you drive a car, despite the fact that it's polluting the air in the landfills. You use a phone and a computer and air conditioning and 100 toxic things every day. Maybe the electricity we use comes from a power plant that's hurting the environment. But what we do with that electricity and do with that car is what makes a difference that can change the world. We use what we have available to us as tools to make the world a better place. Where do we draw the line? Everybody has a different opinion, and in a free world, they should be allowed to, and not be attacked for it online by people who have nothing better to do but vent their frustrations at others. Let he who is without sin cast the first stone, right? It's easy to sit back and judge things we really don't know much about. This isn't a battle anyone can win, because everyone has a different opinion. You're allowed to have your opinion, and I'm allowed to have mine, and we should all respect that. That's what this country was founded on. Life is too short to judge others or tell them what they should or shouldn't do. Just do the best you can and know that you can't possibly control everything. Just do the best you can within reason and leave it at that. It's your life. Go live it.